a black waitress, a feared Korean mafia boss. 3 words that shattered everything she thought she knew. Warm my bed. What began as a command from hell became the one thing that saved them both. But when she discovered what he really wanted, nobody could have prepared for what came next. Before we begin, if you want to know how a broken waitress brought the most dangerous man in the underworld to his knees, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story will leave you speechless. Samantha Alfred had learned to become invisible. After escaping an abusive relationship that left her homeless and broken, she'd clawed her way back to survival one day at a time. When the employment agency offered her a position as a waitress at a private estate, she didn't ask questions. She needed the money. She needed the roof over her head. She needed to disappear. What they didn't tell her was that the private estate was a fortress, a Korean mafia mansion on the outskirts of the city where men walked around with guns under their jackets and conversations ended in blood-stained basements. The rules were simple. Keep your head down, serve the food, ask no questions, see nothing. For 3 months, Samantha did exactly that. She moved through the mansion like a ghost, serving meals to men who reeked of violence and whiskey. She learned to read the tension in a room before walking in. She perfected the art of being present, but unnoticed. Everyone feared one man above all others, Jiho Kang. The boss rarely appeared. When he did, grown men who'd committed murder without blinking would straighten their spines and lower their eyes. His reputation was legendary, brutal, strategic, and completely merciless. They called him the Ghost of Boozin because his enemies simply vanished. Samantha had seen him only twice from a distance. Both times, the air itself seemed to freeze. She prayed she'd never get closer, but prayers don't always get answered. One night, everything changed with 3 words that would haunt her forever. Warm my bed. What he wanted wasn't what anyone expected, and what happened next would burn down an empire. The kitchen was Samantha's sanctuary. At 11 p.m., when the rest of the mansion staff had retreated to their quarters, she'd linger in the industrial kitchen, cleaning counters that were already spotless. Anything to avoid the small, suffocating room they'd given her. Anything to keep her hands busy, so her mind wouldn't drift back to the past. She was scrubbing a pot when she heard it, the heavy door opening behind her. Samantha's entire body went rigid. Footsteps, slow, uneven, the sound of someone hurt. She turned slowly, praying it was just one of the lower-ranking men looking for a late-night snack. It wasn't. Jiho Kang stood in the doorway, and he was bleeding. His white dress shirt was torn and soaked red across his abdomen. Blood dripped from his knuckles. His usually perfect black hair fell across his forehead in sweaty strands. But his eyes, dark, sharp, and utterly devoid of fear, locked onto her with laser focus. Samantha's heart hammered against her ribs. Don't speak. Don't move. Don't breathe. You. His voice was low, rough, dangerous. What's your name? Samantha, sir. Her voice barely worked. He took 3 steps into the kitchen, leaving bloody footprints on the white tile. Up close, she could see the cut across his jaw, the bruising around his ribs through the torn fabric. Warm my bed. The words hit her like a physical blow. Every woman who worked in this house had warned her. When the boss notices you, run. When he calls you to his room, pray. When he's done with you, you're thrown out like garbage, if you're lucky. Samantha's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Her hands trembled so violently she had to grip the counter. This was it. This was the nightmare she'd been dreading since the day she arrived. Now, he turned and walked toward the door, expecting her to follow. What choice did she have? Samantha forced her legs to move, following him through dim hallways she'd never been allowed to enter. The boss's wing. The forbidden territory. She passed 2 guards who looked at her with something between pity and disgust. They climbed a spiral staircase. Her mind raced with escape plans that died before they formed. Run where? To whom? She had no money, no car, nowhere to go. Jiho pushed open massive double doors. His bedroom was enormous. Dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A bed big enough for 5 people. Everything was immaculate except for the bloody jacket thrown across a chair. He walked to the bed and sat on the edge heavily, wincing as he touched his ribs. Samantha stood frozen by the door, shaking, tears now streaming down her face silently. "Close the door," he ordered without looking at her. She did. Jiho pulled off his ruined shirt with a hiss of pain. His torso was a canvas of old scars and fresh bruises. Samantha saw the source of the blood, a deep gash across his side that needed stitches. "Come here." Her legs moved on autopilot. She stopped 3 feet from him. Finally, he looked up at her. Really looked. At her tears, her trembling hands, the terror in her eyes. Something flickered across his face, something she couldn't identify. "You think I'm going to rape you?" It wasn't a question. Samantha couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "I'm not." The words didn't register at first. What? Take off your shoes. Lie down on that side of the bed." He gestured to the left side. "Stay above the covers if it makes you feel safer." Samantha's brain short-circuited. I don't understand." "You don't need to understand. You need to do what I said." "But I am not going to touch you." Each word was enunciated clearly, slowly. "I need someone next to me tonight. That's all. Your job is to lie there, nothing else." Was this a trick? Some sick game before the violence started? But as she looked at him, truly looked, she saw something that shocked her. Exhaustion. Not physical, though his body was clearly wrecked. Something deeper, something ancient and bone-deep that lived behind those hard eyes. He wasn't looking at her with lust. He was looking at her with desperation. "Please." The word was so quiet, she almost missed it. "Just lie there. I need to not be alone tonight." Samantha's survival instinct warred with something else, a strange, inexplicable feeling that he was telling the truth. Slowly, she removed her shoes, walked to the left side of the enormous bed, lay down on top of the covers, every muscle tensed for fight or flight. Jiho stood, stripped down to his boxer briefs, and collapsed onto his side of the bed with a groan. He pulled the blanket over himself, but stayed a full 3 feet away from her. For 10 minutes, neither of them moved. Samantha stared at the ceiling, listening to his breathing slowly even out. She thought he'd fallen asleep when his voice cut through the darkness. "I haven't been able to do what everyone thinks I do to women. Not for 2 years." Samantha's breath caught. "I took a bullet to the spine. The doctors said I was lucky to walk again, but they didn't mention the other thing I'd lose." He laughed bitterly. "The most feared man on the West Coast can't get it up." Samantha turned her head slightly, seeing his profile in the moonlight streaming through the windows. "Everyone thinks I'm a monster who destroys women. The truth? I'm a monster who can't function like a man anymore, And the loneliness? His voice cracked. The loneliness is killing me faster than any bullet. So I just need someone to be here, next to me, so when I wake up at 3 a.m. from nightmares, I'm not completely alone in the dark. Samantha felt tears sliding down to her temples for entirely different reasons now. Can you do that? He asked quietly. Yes, she whispered. But what Samantha didn't know was that saying yes would change everything. Because in Ji-Ho Kang's world, vulnerability was a death sentence, and she'd just become his greatest weakness. Samantha didn't sleep that first night. She lay rigid on her side of the massive bed, hyper-aware of every sound, every shift in breathing. Ji-Ho fell asleep within minutes, his exhaustion finally winning, but Samantha's mind raced. What fresh hell have I walked into? Around 3:17 a.m., Ji-Ho woke with a strangled gasp. Samantha's eyes flew open. In the moonlight, she could see him sitting up, breathing hard, hands gripping the sheets like he was trying to anchor himself to reality. She didn't know what to do. Touch him? Speak? Pretend to be asleep? I'm here, she found herself saying softly. His head turned toward her voice. You're still here, he repeated, as if confirming something he didn't believe. I am. Ji-Ho lay back down slowly, and Samantha heard him exhale a shaky breath. Thank you. Those two words from the most dangerous man in the city sounded so devastatingly human that something in Samantha's chest cracked. When 6 a.m. came, Ji-Ho sat up like nothing had happened. You can go. Come back at 11 p.m. tonight. Tell no one. But your injury, Tae-Yang will stitch it. Go. Samantha left, confused, terrified, and strangely sad. That night, she returned, and the night after that, and the night after that. It became a routine. Samantha would finish her kitchen duties, slip upstairs at 11 p.m., lie on her side of the bed, and exist. Sometimes Ji-Ho would fall asleep immediately. Sometimes he'd stare at the ceiling for hours. On the 5th night, he spoke to her. Why do you still come? I can see you're afraid. Samantha considered lying, then decided on truth. Because you keep your word. You haven't touched me. Is that the only reason? She thought about it. No, I think you're the first person in this house who's spoken to me like a human being. Ji-Ho turned his head on the pillow to look at her. Everyone here fears me or uses me. You just exist. Do you know how rare that is? In my old life, everyone wanted something from me too, or wanted to hurt me. I understand rare. Something passed between them in that moment, a recognition of shared pain. By the 2nd week, they began talking. Quiet conversations in the dark about nothing important. Samantha told him about learning to cook from her grandmother. Ji-Ho told her about growing up in Busan before the mafia life consumed him. They didn't talk about the violence or the blood. They talked about small things, human things. On night 12, everything shifted. Ji-Ho woke from another nightmare, but this time he was shaking. Samantha watched him grip his head, breathing raggedly, and for the first time she reached out. Her hand touched his shoulder. He froze, then, slowly, turned to look at where her brown fingers rested on his skin. Is this okay? She whispered. Ji-Ho's jaw worked for a moment. Then he nodded. Samantha didn't move her hand. Just let the warmth of human contact speak for itself. I killed a 17-year-old tonight, he said suddenly, voice hollow. He betrayed us. Gave information to the West Side crew. The rules are clear. Betrayal equals death. I put the gun to his head, and he cried for his mother. Samantha's hand tightened on his shoulder. And I pulled the trigger anyway, because that's who I am. That's what I do. I'm a monster who ends children, and then comes home and pretends lying next to you makes me human again. You're human, Samantha said quietly. Humans do terrible things. That doesn't make you less human. It makes you human who's done terrible things. Jiho looked at her like she'd spoken a language he forgot existed. Why aren't you running from me? Because you could have hurt me any of these nights and didn't. Because I've seen real monsters, and they don't wake up from nightmares hating themselves. That's when Jiho did something he hadn't done in 15 years. He cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears sliding down scarred cheeks. Samantha moved closer, not touching more than necessary, but close enough that he knew he wasn't alone. But outside that bedroom, darkness was gathering. Dae-jung, Jiho's second-in-command, had noticed the boss's nightly visitor, and he was not pleased. Now, here's a question for you. Have you ever seen someone's loyalty turn to poison right before your eyes? Keep watching, because what happens next will shock you. Min-seo cornered Samantha in the laundry room on a Thursday afternoon. You need to stop, the older woman hissed, glancing around nervously. Stop what? Going to his room. People are talking. Samantha's stomach dropped. I haven't told anyone. You don't need to. Dae-jung has eyes everywhere. He knows you go upstairs every night. He's asking questions. I'm not doing anything wrong. Min-seo grabbed her arm. In this house, it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. It matters what it looks like. And it looks like the boss has a favorite. That makes you a target. A target for what? For everyone who wants to hurt him by hurting you. Samantha tried to be more careful, but there was no hiding a nightly routine in a house full of criminals. Dae-jung watched her with cold calculation. He'd served Jiho for 12 years, worked his way up from a street soldier to the second-in-command position. He'd killed for Jiho, bled for him. And now some waitress had more access to the boss than he did? Unacceptable. He began gathering information, watching Samantha, following her movements, and plotting. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, something beautiful and dangerous was growing. Samantha and Jiho had progressed from strangers sharing a bed to genuine friends. They talked for hours. She made him laugh, an actual, genuine laugh that sounded rusty from disuse. He listened to her stories about her past, without judgment. One night, Jiho asked, Why did you end up here? You're educated. Clearly talented in the kitchen. You could work anywhere. Samantha was quiet for a long time. I was engaged once, she finally said. He seemed perfect at first. Charming, successful, attentive. Then we moved in together, and he changed. Or maybe he just stopped hiding. Jiho turned on his side to face her. It started small. Criticism about my clothes, my friends, my job. Then it got bigger. He'd punch walls next to my head, break things. One night, he broke my arm and told the ER I'd fallen. I stayed because I had nowhere to go. My family had disowned me for dating outside our race. My friends had drifted away because he'd isolated me. I was trapped. How did you get out? He went too far one night, put me in the hospital. A social worker helped me disappear while he was at work. I spent 4 months in a shelter. Then another 6 bouncing between temporary jobs and shitty apartments until I found this position. Samantha turned to look at Jiho. So yeah, I work for the Mafia now. But at least here, I know what kind of monsters I'm dealing with. My ex wore a suit and smiled at neighbors. That's scarier. Jiho's jaw clenched. If I ever met him, you'd kill him, Samantha finished. I know. But I don't need you to. I need you to understand why I'm not afraid of you the way everyone else is. You've shown me who you are. He never did. Jiho reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand covered hers. I won't let anyone hurt you here. I promise. It was a promise he'd soon regret making, because Victor Jung was coming. The meeting was supposed to be routine. Victor Jung, leader of the East Side Korean Syndicate, had requested a sit-down to discuss territory disputes. Neutral ground, limited security, standard protocol. What wasn't standard was Victor bringing 15 men instead of the agreed-upon 5. Jiho should have walked out immediately, but pride made him stay. They sat in a private room at a restaurant on the border between territories. Dae-jung and Tae-yang flanked Jiho. Victor's men lined the walls, their presence a blatant threat. "Let's skip the pleasantries," Victor said, leaning back in his chair with a smirk. "I'm here to discuss your weakness, Jiho." "I have no weaknesses." "Really? Then explain the black waitress warming your bed every night." The temperature in the room plummeted. Jiho's expression didn't change, but his knuckles went white, gripping his glass. "Careful," he said quietly. Victor laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Oh, don't pretend. My sources tell me you have her come to your room like clockwork. Very romantic. But here's what I find fascinating." He leaned forward. "You're not fucking her." Dae-jung's sharp intake of breath was audible. "You invite her to your bed, but nothing happens. At first I thought maybe you were just taking your time, playing some sick game. But then I remembered, 2 years ago, you took a bullet to the spine, didn't you?" Jiho's face could have been carved from stone. "And the doctors told you that you'd have complications, didn't they?" Victor stood up, addressing the room theatrically. "The great Jiho Kang, the ghost of Busan, the man everyone fears, can't get his dick hard." "That's enough." Jiho's voice was lethal. "Is it, though? Because I'm wondering how your men feel knowing their boss is impotent. How can you lead this life if you can't even perform the most basic function of being a man?" Jiho moved so fast, Victor didn't see it coming. 1 second he was sitting, the next, his gun was pressed under Victor's chin. "Say another word, please." Victor's men drew weapons. Jiho's men drew weapons. The standoff hung by a thread. Victor smiled even with a gun at his throat. "Kill me here, and my crew wipes out your entire operation before dawn. You've gotten weak, Jiho. Everyone knows it. It's only a matter of time before someone strong takes what's yours. Including that pretty little waitress." The gun cocked. "Boss, don't," Tae-yang said urgently. "Not here, not like this." Every second stretched into eternity. Finally, Jiho lowered the gun. "Get out." Victor straightened his jacket. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." He walked to the door, then paused. "Give my regards to Samantha. I look forward to meeting her." Jiho didn't go home immediately. He drove for hours, knuckles white on the steering wheel, Victor's words echoing in his head like bullets. Impotent. Weak. Can't even perform the most basic function of being a man. When he finally returned to the mansion at 2 a.m., Samantha was waiting in his room, worried. "Where were you? Tae-yang said something happened, but wouldn't tell me." Jiho walked past her to the windows, staring out at the city lights. "You need to leave." Samantha's heart stopped. "What?" "This arrangement is over. Go back to your room." "Jiho, what happened?" "Don't call me that." He whirled around, and Samantha saw something she'd never seen before in his eyes. Shame. "You don't get to use my name." You don't get to stand there and pretend we're friends. Your staff. I'm your employer. That's all this is. That's not true, isn't it? You lie in my bed every night out of fear. Because you need the job. Don't pretend it's anything else. Samantha took a step forward. You don't believe that. I don't care what I believe. You're a liability now. Victor Jung knows about you. That makes you dangerous to keep around. So you're just going to throw me away? After everything? There is no everything. You're a waitress. I'm a monster. Whatever you thought was happening here was in your head, Samantha snapped. You're right. You are a monster, but not because of what you do. Because you're too much of a coward to admit you feel something. Jiho's jaw clenched. Someone finally sees you as human, and you panic. Someone finally touches you without fear, and you run. Victor Jung got in your head about being less of a man, and now you're proving him right by pushing away the one person who doesn't give a damn about what you can or can't do in bed. Get out! No! Samantha was shaking with fury. You don't get to summon me every night, tell me your secrets, cry on my shoulder, and then throw me away because you're ashamed. You want to know what makes you weak? This, right here, being so terrified of feeling something real that you'd rather be alone. Jiho grabbed her arms, not roughly, but desperately. You don't understand. If I care about you, you die. That's how this works. Everyone I care about gets used against me, and Victor will hurt you to get to me. So yes, I'm pushing you away because that's the only way to keep you safe. I don't need you to keep me safe. I need you to be honest. You want honesty? His voice broke. I'm falling in love with you, and it's going to get you killed. Is that honest enough? The silence was deafening. Samantha's eyes filled with tears. Jiho! He released her and stepped back. Go, please, before I'm too selfish to let you. Samantha wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but she saw the genuine terror in his eyes and knew he meant every word. She left, but she didn't go far, because what Samantha overheard that night would change everything. Samantha couldn't sleep. She paced her small room, Jiho's confession echoing in her mind. I'm falling in love with you, and it's going to get you killed. Around 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and headed to the kitchen for tea. The mansion was eerily quiet at this hour, just the hum of electronics and the occasional creak of old wood. She was passing the library when she heard voices. Low, conspiratorial. Samantha knew she should keep walking. Nothing good came from eavesdropping in a mafia house. But one of those voices was De Jung's, and the other was Victor Jung's. Her blood ran cold. She pressed herself against the wall outside the partially open door. When? Victor was asking. 3 days, De Jung replied. Jiho's attending the shipment inspection at the docks. He'll have minimal security, just Tae-yang and 2 others. Perfect. We hit him there. Make it look like a rival crew.
You make sure Tae-yang doesn't interfere. And my payment?
Once Jiho's dead, you take over his operation. 20% goes to me as agreed. You get the rest. Samantha's hand flew to her mouth to stop the gasp. What about the girl? De Jung asked. The waitress. What about her? Jiho cares about her. Should we use her to lure him? No need. But after, she's seen both of us. She's a loose end. Understood. Samantha didn't wait to hear more. She ran. Her hands shook so badly she could barely grip the banister as she climbed to Jiho's room. She didn't knock, just burst through the doors. Jiho shot out of bed, gun in hand, aiming at her before recognition kicked in. Samantha? What the hell? Dae Young's going to kill you! The words tumbled out in a rush. He's working with Victor Jung. They're planning to ambush you at the docks in 3 days. Tae-yang too. They're going to make sure he can't protect you. Ji-ho lowered the gun slowly. What are you talking about? She told him everything she'd overheard, words spilling faster and faster. When she finished, Ji-ho's face was unreadable. You're certain it was Dae-jung? Yes, I know his voice. Ji-ho, he's been planning this. How long were you outside that door? The question caught her off guard. What? Were you followed? Did they see you? I don't think so. I ran straight here. Ji-ho's mind was clearly racing. He grabbed his phone, typed something, then looked at her. Do you trust me? Yes. Then you need to do exactly what I say. Go back to your room, pack a bag, only essentials. Don't take anything unusual that would make it obvious you're leaving. In 2 hours, Tae-yang will come get you. He'll take you to a safe house. What about you? I'm going to handle this. Handle it how? Ji-ho's expression went cold, the one she'd only seen when he was being the boss, not the broken man who shared her bed. I'm going to kill every single person who betrayed me. But Samantha didn't know that Victor's men were already in the mansion, and they'd been listening. Ji-ho moved fast. He called Tae-yang first. Code Black. Dae-jung's a traitor. Get the loyalists to the basement armory in 10 minutes. Silent. How many? However many aren't compromised. He made 3 more calls, speaking in rapid Korean, his voice like ice. Then he started getting dressed. Not in his usual business attire, tactical pants, boots, a black shirt. He pulled weapons from hidden compartments Samantha never knew existed. You're really going to do this tonight? She asked. If I wait, I die. If I move now, I have the element of surprise. He loaded a gun with practiced efficiency. When there's a snake in your house, you don't wait for it to strike. You cut off its head. How many people are you going to kill? Ji-ho looked at her. However many it takes. Samantha was heading back to her room when she heard glass shatter, then shouting, then gunfire. She ran toward her room, but 2 of Victor's men appeared at the end of the hallway. They saw her. That's the girl! Grab her! Samantha sprinted in the opposite direction, heart hammering. Behind her, heavy footsteps pounded. She burst into the kitchen, her territory, and grabbed the first thing she could reach, a cast-iron skillet. The first man through the door got it across the face. He went down hard. The second man grabbed her arm. Samantha screamed, twisted, and drove her knee into his groin. When he doubled over, she smashed the skillet down on his head. Both men lay unconscious. Samantha stood there shaking, skillet still raised, unable to believe what she'd just done. Then she heard the screaming from the main house. The basement meeting was supposed to be where Ji-ho consolidated his loyal men. Instead, it became a killing floor. Dae-jung had anticipated the move. Half the men Ji-ho thought were loyal had been bought by Victor. When Ji-ho walked in with Tae-yang and 3 others, they were outnumbered 2 to 1. I'm sorry, boss, Dae-jung said from across the room, gun already drawn. But you've become weak. And weak leaders get their people killed. I trusted you, Ji-ho said quietly. That was your first mistake. The room erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the basement like strobe lights. Men dove for cover. Blood sprayed across concrete walls. Tae-yang took a bullet to the shoulder but kept firing. Ji-ho moved like the ghost of Busan he was named for, fast, efficient, lethal. Every shot he took dropped someone, but there were too many. A bullet grazed Ji-ho's thigh. Another hit his side, thankfully stopped by the vest he'd put on, but the impact cracked ribs. Pain exploded through his torso. He and Tae Yang ended up behind a concrete pillar, pinned down. "We're not getting out of this," Tae Yang said, breathing hard, blood pouring from his shoulder. Like hell. Ji-ho checked his ammunition. 3 rounds left in this clip. 1 spare magazine. Not enough. Then the lights went out. Someone had hit the circuit breaker. In the chaos and darkness, Ji-ho grabbed Tae Yang. "Stairwell! Now!" They moved through the pitch-black basement using memory and touch, with bullets sparking off walls around them. They burst through a service exit into the garage just as Victor Jung's vehicles crashed through the front gates. "He's here!" Tae Yang gasped. "He moved up the timeline." "He knows we know," Ji-ho realized. "Samantha? Already ahead of you, boss." Victor Jung stood in the garage, flanked by 20 men, and in front of him, held at gunpoint. "Samantha." "Let her go," Ji-ho said, voice deadly calm, despite the blood running down his leg. "Oh, I don't think so. See, I was going to just kill you quick. But then I thought, why not make you suffer first?" Victor pressed his gun to Samantha's temple. "You care about this one. Everyone says so. The big bad Ji-ho Kang finally has a weakness, and I'm going to kill her in front of you. Victor, this is between us. No, this is about showing everyone that you're finished, that the ghost of Busan is just a man, an impotent, broken, pathetic man." Samantha's eyes met Ji-ho's across the garage. She wasn't crying. She looked calm, and Ji-ho knew what she was going to do a split second before she did it. She went limp, sudden, dead weight. Victor's grip faltered for just a moment, and that was all Ji-ho needed. His gun came up. 1 shot. Perfect. Victor's head snapped back, blood spraying. He crumpled. Chaos erupted. Victor's men opened fire. Ji-ho and Tae Yang dove behind cars. Samantha scrambled for cover. Bullets shredded metal and glass. The garage filled with smoke and the smell of gunpowder. Ji-ho fought with the cold precision of 15 years in this life, but he was injured, running on adrenaline and losing blood. He saw Dae-jung emerge from the basement, saw him aim at Samantha. "No!" Ji-ho threw himself in front of her just as the gun fired. The bullet hit him in the chest. He went down hard. "Ji-ho!" Samantha's scream cut through the gunfire. She grabbed his gun. She'd never fired one in her life, and pulled the trigger wildly in Dae-jung's direction. By some miracle, one of her bullets caught him in the throat. Dae-jung dropped, choking on his own blood. Tae Yang and the remaining loyal men finished off Victor's crew. Then it was silent, except for ringing ears and Samantha's sobs. She cradled Ji-ho's head in her lap. Blood soaked through his shirt, spreading fast. "No, no, no, no. Stay with me," she begged. Ji-ho coughed, blood on his lips. "Told you, caring about you would be a problem. Don't you dare die on me now." His hand found hers. "Best mistake I ever made. Ji-ho!" The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Samantha sat with blood on her clothes, Ji-ho's blood, staring at the floor while Tae Yang paced with his arm in a sling. The surgeon had been in there for 6 hours. "He's strong," Tae Yang kept saying. "Boss is strong. He'll make it." But his voice shook. Min-so had arrived an hour ago with clean clothes and food Samantha couldn't eat. The older woman sat next to her, holding her hand silently. Finally, the surgeon emerged. Everyone shot to their feet. "He's alive," the doctor said, and Samantha's legs nearly gave out. "The bullet missed his heart by 2 centimeters. He's incredibly lucky. We've removed it, repaired the damage, and he's stable." "When can we see him?" Tae Yang asked. "He's in recovery now. It'll be a few hours before he wakes up, but he should make a full recovery with time." Samantha sobbed, not sadness, but overwhelming relief. When Jiho finally woke, Samantha was sitting in a chair next to his hospital bed. He turned his head slowly, eyes unfocused. "Samantha?" She was at his side immediately. "I'm here." "You're alive? So are you." He tried to sit up, winced, and fell back against the pillows. "Victor?" "Dead. Died young too. Most of the traitors are gone." Jiho closed his eyes. "I should feel something about that. I don't." "You're in shock. Give it time." He opened his eyes and looked at her. Really looked. "You saved my life. You fought. You shot Dae-jung." "I had a good teacher." She tried to smile, but tears spilled over. "You took a bullet for me. I'd take 100 more." Samantha grabbed his hand. Don't ever scare me like that again." Jiho's thumb traced circles on her palm. "I need to tell you something. If you're going to push me away again, no, the opposite." He struggled to sit up more, gritting his teeth through pain. "I'm done." "Done with what?" "All of it. The mafia. The violence, the blood. I'm out." Samantha stared. "You can't just quit." "I can, and I am. I've spent 15 years building an empire I hate. Becoming a monster. And for what? So I can die in some garage alone while the people I trusted betray me?" He squeezed her hand. "You made me remember what it feels like to be human, and I want to keep being human. With you. If you'll have me. Jiho, they won't just let you walk away. Tae-yang will take over. He's always been better at this than me anyway. He knows how to consolidate what's left, make peace with the other factions. I'll give him everything. The territory, the operations, the connections. In return, I disappear. And do what? Whatever I want. Whatever we want." His eyes were bright with something Samantha had never seen before. Hope. "I have money hidden away. Legal money. Enough to start over somewhere. I could buy you that restaurant you talked about. Or we could travel. Or just exist. Together." Samantha felt tears streaming down her face. "You'd give up everything. Everything I had was nothing without you in it." She kissed him then, gentle, careful of his injuries, but full of promise. When they broke apart, Jiho smiled, a real smile, not the bitter ones she'd seen before. "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes, you idiot." But getting out wouldn't be easy. The next 6 months were a controlled demolition of Jiho Kang's empire. Tae-yang took over officially, with Jiho's public retirement announced to the underworld. There were challenges, rivals who thought the organization was weak, old enemies who wanted revenge. But Tae-yang proved as ruthless as Jiho ever was when necessary, and the ghost of Busan's reputation kept most threats at bay. Jiho worked tirelessly behind the scenes, untangling years of illegal operations. He moved money through legitimate channels, paid off debts, severed connections. It was like defusing a bomb made of his entire life. Samantha stayed by his side through all of it. When Jiho had nightmares about the garage, about Dae-jung, about the 17-year-old he'd killed years ago, she was there. When Samantha woke up panicking about Victor's gun pressed to her head, he was there. They healed together. Two people who'd survived separate hells, learning to build something beautiful from the ashes. 9 months after the bloodbath, Samantha stood in front of a small storefront in a quiet neighborhood 2 states away. The sign above the door read, "Alfred's Kitchen." Her restaurant. Her dream. Jiho came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist carefully. She'd learned to love his touch, though it was always gentle, never demanding. "Ready for opening day?" he murmured in her ear. Terrified. "You're going to be amazing." They'd spent months renovating this space. Jiho had insisted she make it perfect. The kitchen of her dreams, the dining room warm and welcoming. He'd hired contractors, dealt with permits, and never once tried to take over her vision. "What will you do while I'm running a restaurant?" she'd asked once. "Whatever you need," he'd said. "I'm good at a lot of things. I can manage books, handle suppliers, even wash dishes if you want." The ghost of Busan washing dishes? The ghost of Busan is dead. I'm just Jiho now. You're Jiho. Opening night was intimate. Just a few local food critics and friends they'd made in their new city. Samantha cooked like her life depended on it, and every dish was perfect. Jiho worked the front, greeting guests with a smile that would have shocked anyone who'd known him in his old life. When the last guest left, and they locked the door, Samantha collapsed into a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," she said. "You did it. I just helped." "We're a team." Jiho pulled her to her feet and into his arms. "We are." They swayed slowly to no music, just the quiet of a dream realized. Later that night, in the home they'd bought together, a modest house with a garden Samantha was teaching Jiho to tend, they lay in bed. Their bed, not his, not hers, theirs. Samantha rested her head on Jiho's chest, listening to his heartbeat, the one that had almost stopped in that garage. "Do you miss it?" she asked quietly. "The power, the respect, being feared." Jiho was quiet for a long moment. "Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. When there was a problem, I eliminated it. No questions, no morality, just action." He stroked her hair. "But then I remember what it cost me. My humanity, my soul, almost my life, and definitely almost losing you. No, I don't miss it. Not enough to go back. What if Taeyang needs help? He won't. And if he does, that's not my life anymore." Samantha tilted her head to look at him. "Who are you now, if you're not the ghost of Busan?" Jiho smiled, the soft, genuine smile he only gave her. "I'm the man who gets to wake up next to you every morning. That's all I need to be." He pulled her closer. "Remember the first night? When I told you to warm my bed? How could I forget? I thought you were going to kill me. I was dying inside, empty, cold. I didn't know what I needed. I just knew I couldn't stand being alone anymore." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Your bed is warm now because you're in it. You brought warmth back into a life I thought was frozen solid." Samantha felt tears prick her eyes, happy tears this time. "We saved each other," she whispered. "We did." Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. No gunfire, no screams, no betrayal. Just the peaceful sounds of ordinary life. The thing they'd both thought was lost forever. Two broken people had found each other in the darkest place. And together, they'd built something neither could have built alone. A second chance. A real life, love. So that's how a simple command, "Warm my bed," changed two lives forever. Samantha Alfred thought she was walking into a nightmare. Instead, she found the one person who understood her pain. Jiho Kang thought he was just asking for companionship. Instead, he found redemption. Their story proves that sometimes the most powerful connections happen in the darkest places. That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. That two people with broken pasts can build an unbreakable future. What would you have done in Samantha's position that first night? Would you have stayed? Would you have run? Let me know in the comments below. And if you loved this story of love, betrayal, and redemption, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell because I have more incredible stories coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.